I'm coming at you live on tape from Sydney, Ohio. Today we're reviewing the movie The Greasy Strangler, which is the heartwarming tale of a man and his son fighting over a woman, and there's some guy strangling people covered in grease in there somewhere. This movie starts with Big Braden bringing his father, Big Ronnie, a cup of coffee, and them talking about putting a little grease in their coffee. I think someone in our audience should do that, put some grease in their coffee and try it. Now, I've been advised by my doctor not to drink coffee due to acid reflux in my stomach. It makes me so I can't drink several different things and eat several different foods. But someone in our audience should try to put a little grease in their coffee and see how it tastes and report back to us. Then they dress alike and go on their disco tour of their city that they run. And three men start badgering them for free drinks, which they say was promised in a brochure. But Big Ronnie assures them that it was not, and they get into an argument. And then Big Ronnie moons them, which then the three men leave. And only it leaves the one woman, Janet, who's our main female character, to bond with Big Braden immediately. And they start talking and flirting until Big Ronnie calls Braden over to him to help him pull his pants up. Now, if I can't pull my pants up someday, I think I will just stop wearing pants. But then again, if I had a dick as big as Big Ronnie's, I think I would stop wearing pants altogether. Because I'd want everybody to see it. And we get to see Big Ronnie's dick. We get to see Big Braden's dick. And we get to see Janet naked. Then we go to Big Braden cooking in the kitchen with lots of grease. Just like Big Ronnie likes it, but Big Ronnie complains there's not enough grease. Now, I don't get why you'd fry something without a shirt on, because I learned my lesson doing that. It hurts like hell when hot grease splatters on your chest. But anyways, Big Ronnie says there's not enough grease, and Braden says he's going out with Janet the next night. Big Ronnie tells him the girl does not like him. So I have that conversation. The next day, they go on their disco tour. No, I forgot. That night, the Greasy Strangler strikes, killing the three men, arguing about the free drinks, and we hear the proper pronunciation of potato from the three men. It is properly pronounced Porto. And then we see the Greasy Strangler go through a car wash, and it is revealed that it is Big Ronnie who then pays the attendant with the 10 that he pulls out of his ass. And I thought boob money was bad. Then the next day we see Braden and Big Ronnie discussing on the disco tour that Janet is coming over. And Big Ronnie, being reluctant, telling them to fuck off because he's going to have to go to a street vendor for his food. I mean, the guy raised Braden and he can't cook. What did Braden cook during his childhood? I mean, I don't get it, but whatever. So Janet and Braden go out, and it's a basic date. They have a good time. Big Ronnie goes to a hot dog vendor, and hot dog vendor refuses to put extra grease on Big Ronnie's hot dog, which is a mistake. So Big Ronnie throws the money on the ground. You know, these are crude, handily drawn bills. They're not like real bills. And then dips his money in a hot dog vendor's grease and walks off. And then later that night, we see the Greasy Strangler strangle the hot dog vendor, and his eyes pop out. And then the Greasy Strangler eats the hot dog vendor's eyes. And we see Janet and Brayden. Janet lets Brayden see her boobs, but she will not let him touch them. Then the next night we meet Brayden's best friend. Next day we meet Brayden's best friend, Oinker, who has a pig's nose where his nose should be. Discuss going to the haunted horror show or whatever it is. And Brayden's not allowed to go out on his own, so he must take Big Ronnie. Big Ronnie goes with him and demands extra grease on his popcorn. So they steal a grease bucket from both the hot dog vendor and the movie place, put extra grease on the popcorn, and then steal the grease bucket from the dead hot dog vendor's cart. Then Janet comes over and makes baguettes, I think is what it is. French baguettes. Big Ronnie reveals he makes his own olive oil in his room. And after Brayden and Janet make love that night, Janet is peeing in the bathroom, and Big Ronnie comes in to watch her pee and brush his teeth. And see, Big Ronnie's into Janet, which leads to a conversation of Big Ronnie wanting to take Janet out, in case she breaks Brayden's heart. He doesn't want Brayden to get his heart broke. Brayden is reluctant, but Big Ronnie threatens to evict him if he doesn't. So Brayden allows it. So Big Ronnie takes Janet out, tells her some bullshit story about Michael Jackson, kisses her, but Janet refuses because she says she's in love with Brayden. And then Big Ronnie dances in a spotlight with his dick out. This is the first time we see Big Ronnie's dick. Don't worry, there'll be many more. At which point, when Janet goes back, Big Ronnie murders Oinker. And then Brayden gets a call that Oinker's been murdered. And they collect grease from the scene to nail the Greasy Strangler. And then Brayden puts the grease on toast for his dad. And his dad gets worried because Brayden says, "I think you know where this grease came from." And then Big Ronnie hurries to his room. So Big Ronnie and Big Paul, who's the car wash attendant, decide to go to the disco. Now, Big Paul is blind. I just want to throw that out there, which is why he's never seen Big Ronnie go through the car wash to get the grease off him. Big Ronnie just says he's getting the grease off his car. So, and Brayden asks if he can come to the disco, at which point Big Paul says, "Hell no," and then both him and Big Ronnie laugh. And then Big Janet comes over, because I'm just going to start calling everyone Big in this movie. Big Janet come over, and her and Brayden, once again, have some sort of sex. And then, with Big Ronnie coming home, Big Janet's leaving and flirts with him, sees his dick, her eyes bug out, steam starts coming from her head. She goes, "Wowzers!" And she immediately has sex with him. Actually, none of that happens except for her. She flirts and has sex with him. So then Big Ronnie says him and Janet are exclusive. At which point we get a 5-minute session of them saying bullshit artists to each other, him and Brayden. And the movie goes on. Then we see Big Ronnie and Big Janet having sex with each other again. Big Ronnie calls Big Janet a hootie tootie disco cutie, a thing they say over and over again, driving Big Braden insane till he goes out and lays in the middle of the road and lets 10 trucks run him over till he gets superpowers and then blows up the earth. He doesn't actually blow up the earth, but that would have been a cool scene. He lets lawnmowers run him over and he loads up the rocket ship. Okay, on with the movie. Done doing Ultimate Warrior jokes. So finally, one night, Big Braden confronts Big Janet and divulges that he loves her and tells her all sorts of corny things, at which point Big Janet gets back with Big Braden and Big Ronnie greases himself up and kills Big Paul, dances with his head after he cuts it off, shoots a basket but doesn't make it because white men don't have any basketball skills. That's why Jews never played basketball. Don't let them tell you different. Jews were never good at basketball. At which point, Big Ronnie comes back, hides under the bed. Braden asks Big Janet to marry him. She says yes, and Big Ronnie kicks Braden out and forbids him to marry. At which point, Big Braden calls Big Janet a hootie tootie disco cutie, which they start repeating over and over again. Big Ronnie greases himself up, kidnaps Janet, slaps Braden down, and then Braden gets up, finds his father's grease, greases himself up, and vows, if he can be the Greasy Strangler, I can be the Greasy Strangler. And then we have our confrontation in the movie theater. Greasy Strangler versus Greasy Strangler. Greasy Strangler wrestling. And Janet's got a chair! No, actually, Big Braden then chokes out Janet. Her eyes pop out, and they both eat her eyes. And then we see them on a beach, discussing life. And then they decide to grease themselves up and kill Vicky Prickles, Big Braden's mom and Ronnie's ex-wife's new husband, which they do. They eat his ears, they eat his eyes, and they strangle him. And then they're out in the woods, covered with grease, and they see themselves executed by firing squad, and the tops of their heads explode, and with champagne then bursts out of it. And then finally, we see them in the woods with spears, growling at things and poking their spears at them. That is how the movie ends. This movie's pretty good. You see all the people naked you don't want to see naked, which is everyone in the cast. But there's only the three main characters you see naked, but no one in the cast you want to see naked. And it's just a weird independent horror movie. The Greasy Strangler is not even the main storyline. The father and son eventually bond over being Greasy Stranglers and killing people, and Janet's dead. It's a happy ending. I give it 12 out of 10 stars. It's a good movie. Check it out. It's on Prime. It might be on other things. Who knows? It's weird. It was produced by Elijah Wood, who needs to produce more movies. Clearly. This is the kind of shit that comes out of his brain. This kind of shit he produces, he needs to produce more horror movies. Because this shit is weird and has a lot of nudity in it, and it's just fucking weird. I recommend it though. It's on Prime. It's called The Greasy Strangler. Now for the moment you've all been waiting for. And for those of you who skipped the movie, you want to understand why I'm singing about this. For those of you who didn't skip the movie, me describing the movie, you want to understand why I'm singing about this. So everybody's going to be confused. which is the point of this song, is just to confuse everybody. Men like to show it. Oh, how they grow it. Little bags of meat and blood. Stuff comes out of them like a flood. They can be small, they can be tall. But if there's not one, then you're no man at all. I'm talking about dicks. Yes, I'm talking about dicks. Every man has one, and every one is unique. Some women even think they're a special treat. Talking about dicks. Some men stick it in anything with a hole. And before you know it, they scream hallelujah and blow. The men have some refined tastes. They require their holes be of the human race. Some go in front, some go in back. But making your partner orgasm is not a life hack. I'm talking about dicks. Yes, I'm talking about dicks. Every man has one, and every one is unique. Some women think they're a special treat. I'm talking about dicks. Now, the dick is a complicated human being. It spends most of its life in the dark, unseen. But when it comes out, people give a big shout, because someone is about to live the dream. I'm talking about dicks. I'm talking about dicks. Every man has one, and every one is unique. Some women even think that they're a special treat. I'm talking about dicks. That is the song I'm talking about. Parentheses, dicks. And that is the song that goes with this movie. That is the movie that goes with this movie. Come back next week. We're doing Night Swim. There'll be another song. I wanted to do the song in like a Jerry Lee Lewis style, but I'm nowhere near playing a Jerry Lee Lewis's level. So next week is Night Swim. I like it. A lot of people don't.